What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. We are live, and it wasn't a planned ramble this. We've just come on because it's been a very busy day, or certainly very rumour heavy. Things are starting to heat up already. It's not very Bladey. It's not very Sheffield United-like to have our name involved in so many weird rumours every window. But to be so active and for things to look like they're so far on already is a little bit alien to us, especially in the last few years. So, yeah, it's exciting. And from what I've seen, what I've seen is what I like. We're going to sort of jump into it straight away. But before I do, I just want to thank everybody for their support on the two-parter that I've done with the Prince. Prince Abdullah gave up his time, which I'm very appreciative of, to come on the channel. And it's the first one, which was released earlier, obviously. It has, sorry, Darren. It's now our most viewed video ever, most viewed ramble ever. And it's done really well. It's been picked up by not just local reporters, but national. And now it's... Scott sent me a clip that it had gone over to France today because he mentioned Illiman as well in one of them. So it's a little bit mad how far and wide that is. But again, it's all down to the Prince agreeing to come on. So thank you to that. And thank you to the kind words that have come. I were expecting a little bit more of a backlash, if I'm honest, just because it could have been the best interview ever. And because he's Prince Abdullah's the owner of a football club, it were always going to be polarizing. It's a polarizing position to be in, isn't it? So, yeah, overall, I think it's been a real success for the channel, and hopefully now we can try and build on it. And as part of the, I had loads planned. I'm going to, if I dare, I'm going to put a video out. And I've been warned off this, but what really happened behind, did he ask you to ask the questions? Did he ask for things omitting and things like that? So I think you'll be surprised at some of the answers there. I think it'll be a really interesting listen. But as I say, it's just finding the time at the minute to sit down. Obviously, I'm back at work now as well. So getting everything in and getting time to do it. But the other thing I want to do is a plan for Jan. So like a series of videos. I'm going to do each position, all as separate videos. Goalkeeper, what do we need to do? Existing goalkeepers and targets and who goes out, who comes in. Then defenders, then midfielders, then forwards. Plan to do those because we've got Gillingham, obviously, at the weekend in the Cup, and then we've got a 2-week break. So I thought, well, I love the transfer windows, even though United don't tend to come out very well, usually out of them. I think it's great in terms of I get excited about the rumours and speculation. So I wanted to put it like a video out there about that and keep that momentum going. There's no chance that's going to still be relevant even this time in 2 or 3 days. So my plan is to record it as quick as I can as one. I'm going to do it still as individual videos. So if you're not interested in defenders, then you can skip that one or whatever it might be. But I'll release it as a playlist. So you can do one after the other if you want, or you can just chop and change into what you want. But also then they're all released at the same time. And even if they become out of date, then at least it might be interesting for a couple of days. And again, it's that accountability of being online where I've put my neck out there and I've said, this is what I'd do. This is what I'd like to do. Because I'm not saying this is what I think we will do. These videos are about what I would do if I were in Wilder's position, and speaking to some of you guys in terms of taking some of the feedback on board that you've said in terms of players and who comes in, who goes out. So I always think it's a really interesting concept, and you'll all have your own ideas, which I want you to forward to me, even in this stream tonight. So that's that. And yeah, it's just one of those really exciting times. But today, obviously, most people are back at work today. So after what was a relatively steady day yesterday on the first day of the transfer window, I think Ollie Arblaster coming back was the only news, and that might have even broke a little bit before New Year, if I'm right. So Ollie Arblaster's coming back, which is great, and I think he will be integrated into our first team squad. In terms of another loan recall that we've heard today, Frankie Maguire's been recalled from Chester. I think he only played 10 times for them. And are they in the National League North? So it's not a very high level. But ideally, we want to place him a little bit higher if we can. Now, I don't know if he's been out. He's not been getting regular games due to injury. I haven't followed him enough, to be honest. But maybe we're looking, if he's not been getting the game time, or if we think whenever he has played, he's played better than the level and we want to test him higher, I don't think Frankie will be coming back to be a part of the first team. That's where I'm going with that, in terms of we might be placing him elsewhere out on loan, which is fine because he's a central midfielder, for those of you that aren't aware. Another promising youngster in our setup. Disappointing to see that Siddy Peck is laid up with another injury. Another knee requiring surgery, unfortunately. So that's a promising youngster that we've obviously seen glimpses of under Chris Wilder this season. Came on for his Premier League debut, but he's going to be out of action for an undisclosed amount of time because it's only a very new update that's come on tonight online. As for the transfer rumours, so the first thing, and this caught me by obviously it's out there that I've a relationship with the Prince. He revealed that he watches the channel and that we have a little bit of back and forth every now and again. It's not a super regular thing, but from time to time we will exchange messages and things like that. So, and it's not direct from the Prince that I necessarily get info or anything like that, but being close to the club, you do start to hear little bits. But I have to emphasize on this, I'm not in the know. I'm not ITK. I don't know whether there's any substance to these rumours. Or Benny Traore, for example, took me completely by the wayside. The Prince only said to me in our interview last week, he doesn't expect any outgoings. Well, clearly there is now looking like there's going to be an outgoing. So for those of you that haven't seen it, Benny Traore has been heavily linked. It's been reported by Alan Nixon and L'Equipe and another French outlet now, I think, that Benny Traore is very close to signing for Nantes in Ligue 1, in the French First Division, same league as a certain Iliman Ndiaye. So he will be going on loan, and I understood that, and I thought, that's okay. I'd prefer him to go to the Championship, but if he's going out on loan to get some minutes, that's absolutely fine, because we're thinking then, aren't we, if we are relegated, which, you know, if you're a betting man, you'd say we are going to be relegated, then we may want him to toughen up and see how he goes in our team next year. But we've given him an option to buy. So somebody clearly, Chris don't fancy. I'd heard that Chris Wilder thought he might do well in the Championship. So I'm surprised to see that we've given Nantes the option to buy. I don't really understand the thinking behind it, because he's not a registered player in our side. He's too young. So it's not like by letting Benny go, we free up a space in the squad, because we don't. We're also not getting the financial benefit of a definite transfer fee. I could understand it if it were a straight sale. Some of us might not like it if you think he's a promising player. But I could understand it if it were a straight sale. It's not. It's a loan, and then there's an option to buy. So we don't know whether he's going to be our player this time next year or not. It'll depend on whether he's a success there. It's already an agreed fee of, I think it's €4.5 million that's reported, which will be similar to what we paid for him. So we've broken even. We've not really lost anything. I don't know the full details of the incoming transfer fee, so don't quote me on that, but we're not far away. So it looks like a cut your losses deal, really, which is a shame, because I think he's a promising player. The level was a huge step. We were all very excited when he came, but he was scoring goals in the Swedish league, which it made it look easy, but it may well be easy for all we know, mightn't it? So it looks like Benny might be on the way out. But the exciting one that's got tongues wagging today, and something I tweeted earlier, which I said this may have some legs. And this is the only reason I said that was because I'd heard a couple of weeks ago that this might be a goer, and then it had gone quiet a little bit. So I thought, oh, right, it might have gone by wayside, this one, unfortunately. But Ben Brereton Diaz from Villarreal, you'll all remember him from Blackburn Rovers last season. It's not... I don't think Ben Brereton Diaz is as brilliant a player as he was made out to be. So when we were pushing for promotion last season, was it last season or whenever it was, when he was the hot property before he got to Villarreal, I think it was last season. It might have been season before, but I think it was last season. He went off the boil a little bit. I think he goes missing in games sometimes, but he had a real hot streak, and it weren't just a purple patch. It was like a good half a season for Blackburn, where he scored loads of goals and looked a top player. So I'm not upset at the fact that he might be coming in on loan to Sheffield United for the rest of this. I'm not upset at all, but I'm just tempering my expectations a little bit because I don't know if he'll be the absolute superstar that he was originally made out to be. I don't mean today. I mean in windows gone by where he was linked with Everton at like 15 million quid with a year left on his deal. And that, he's ended up going to Spain on a free transfer, and not really pulling up many trees. I think he started twice, come on as sub 11 times, not scored, no assists. But if you think about this as an exchange, he's going to be much more involved in our first team. In fact, you'd say we're almost a nailed-on starter for us, as opposed to Benny Traore, who was out the door, who had a lot of development in front of him if we were going to get anywhere near. That was part of the long-term ambition that we talked about. So Ben Brereton Diaz does strengthen us. He does improve us. And he also fits ideally into the way that Chris Wilder's been playing in terms of having that. He's been trying to use Cam Archer as a left forward type player. And I think Cam's done what he can and he's done well in that position. But I always like, as you know, I always like to try and have Cameron Archer at the point of the attack because I think he's a lethal finisher. Well, Ben Brereton Diaz's natural position is a left forward coming inside. So I think that will really suit our style of play if we can get that one done. Really excited at that one. And it's not done. It's not a done deal by any means. And nobody's been able to confirm. I haven't chased confirmation or anything like that. But I did hear a couple of weeks ago that he was on the radar. Then, as I've seen in a couple of reports today, I think he wanted to stay in Spain initially because he's trying to settle his family in Spain. So he wanted to stay in La Liga if that had been possible. But whether Wilder's managed to work his charms or not, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? And you can only think that this is the beginning of a very busy window for us. And the fact that we're getting a loan player in, there's been a lot of speculation about goalkeeper. And I tried pushing Prince Abdullah on that. And I didn't expect him to say any names. But I think personally we should be looking at a long-term solution for a goalkeeper. But there are others that think a short-term loan for a goalkeeper would be the answer. So somebody like a Kasper Schmeichel that's been circulated online. I've not heard anything about Kasper Schmeichel, but I wouldn't necessarily. So that doesn't mean you can rule it out. I would much prefer somebody like a Victor Johansson from Rotherham, or Mike Cooper's my favourite, but currently out injured. So I'd gladly take Victor Johansson. And what are your thoughts on that? Do you think we should go for somebody who's unproven at the level, but it would be more of a long-term solution, but it's going to cost more? It's much more of an investment. And like the Prince said in our interview, anything that we spend, we will potentially have to recoup on relegation. Can't forget that as well. So you think maybe sending Benny out on loan frees up a little bit of budget. That would probably only pay for another loan, wouldn't it? We'd have to be dipping into probably next year's pot to get somebody like a Victor Johansson in permanently. So I'm going to jump into your comments. Let me know what you think. We can talk about any rumours that you want, and I'll tell you what I know. If I know anything, or if I don't, then we'll get into it. But Danny starts us off. Word is Blades are bringing in BBD from Villarreal on loan, and also the Prince has listened to you, Jimmy, over Victor Johansson as Blades moving in to sign him. Yeah, I think it's just been reported online, hasn't it, the Johansson one. Paul Davis, I think, the reporter for who's Rotherham's Danny Hall, Nathan Ebbingham, their local reporter, is now saying that United are in the mix for Victor Johansson. I've not heard that. I've not heard that we are in for Victor. I would be very pleased if we are, but I haven't heard it directly. Evening, Jimmy. Is there any truth to the Isaac Hayden deal on a free? Apparently, it could be done tomorrow. I don't believe there is. This is a tweet that's come out from the TC9 Transfer Centre 9 Twitter account, X account, that said we were going to swoop in and get Newcastle's Isaac Hayden, centre midfielder, I believe, that Middlesbrough were going to try and gazump us in the deal. I haven't heard that name mentioned once. Now, none of this means it's not going to happen, but I would be surprised if this one comes off because I'm not entirely sure of the source, if I'm honest. And that's no slight on them, but I'm not familiar with them is probably the best way to put it. And I don't know anybody that's mentioned him once. whether that be anybody from the club or anybody locally other than that one report. So I'd take that one with a pinch of salt, to be honest. But what I will say is there's loads of moving parts all the time. And the reason I put Del Boy as the thumbnail, not just for comedy effect, and apologies for the poor photoshopping Canva, but I've never claimed to be good at that. But Wilder has got so many targets and he's just working his way through them. He's so many plates spinning, so many options that he wants to leave himself open. Because if he buys a Victor Johansson, for example, then that might take out the money that we've got for a Ben Brereton. I'm not saying this is the case, but it might, the loan money that we've got for a Ben Brereton Diaz. So does he drop Johansson and pick up a Kasper Schmeichel on loan as well and get Brereton Diaz? But then we've got nobody for next season. So it's all a balancing act and everything is changing all the time. So the names that I might have heard 2 weeks ago, I thought we could have probably dismissed Ben Brereton Diaz until it's come back to the surface today, because things change all the time. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Isaac Hayden was on the long list, if you like, in terms of somebody that we may well revisit later in the window. But I've not heard that name personally, pal. Jimmy, you're getting name drops from Blades Heaven and Football. All right, okay, that's very good. Thank you to everybody at Radio Sheffield for not just having me on and promoting the Ramble, but they've been great. I know people have got their own opinions on Radio Sheffield, like they have about the Ramble, like they have about Sheffield United Way and Shore and View, everything, and you're all entitled to your opinion. But I can only tell you from my experience with working with Radio Sheffield, it's been nothing but positive, particularly Rob and Adam Oxley, but everybody that I've worked with there has been really, really good. So thank you to them for the opportunity. And if you know, Ramble's getting circulated, then even better for us, isn't it? Have we signed Victor yet? Not yet, pal. Not yet. I hope his name is now on the table, because it wasn't when I'd last heard. Joe says, I like the Diaz move, but if that's the goal scorer we're going for, I'm not sure if it's enough. Hasn't done much for a year or two. If anyone can get the best out of me, it's Wilder. Keeper needed next. Yeah, I agree, Joe. I'm not 100% convinced that he's the answer, but he certainly improves us. So, yeah, bringing him in, I'm certainly not going to be upset about. He gets into our first 11, I think. But I don't think he's the answer to all our woes, and we certainly do need a keeper. Happy New Year, Jimmy. Happy New Year to you too, Andrew. Thank you, pal. Let's hope Wilder can keep us up the Blades. He certainly believes he can. And I think that is their reason for going for loans and going and for like a short-term fix, if you like. Ben Brereton Diaz is strictly a loan, no option to buy. He's not. If we're relegated, he's not going to be with us next season. If we stay up, who knows? He might be open to a permanent move. We may fancy a permanent move, and that can be a discussion, but that'll be a separate discussion to this deal. We can't afford him if he goes down, if we go down anyway. But yeah, that's the way that Wilder's chosen to go in terms of short-term fix, because both Chris Wilder and Prince Abdullah, and this isn't just rhetoric to try and spin and get the fans on board. They genuinely believe that we can stay up. And whilst I prefer a cautious sort of balance between getting a couple of future first teamers in that can be straddle both the Championship and the Premier League, then if we're going to get 3 Premier League starters in this window and really go for it, then why are we resisting? Why are we resisting it? I'm going to cough. Excuse me. What would you do, Jimmy? What positions and players? Although I think you said you have a video coming up soon. Yes, I have got a video, pal. I won't spoil that video, but I do think there's quality gaps in the squad. I think defence needs shoring up a little bit. Goalkeeper is the main one, and I think if we're going to be adaptable, we need to have players like a Brereton Diaz, who is that left forward that we've never had, really. If we'd have signed him last season or under Wilder in the first season and we'd stuck to our 3-5-2, he'd be playing up front alongside Ellie McBurney, wouldn't he? That's how we'd be playing. But there's a chance here we can play him in his more natural position of wide left forward. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Scotty doing us a solid there. Thank you, pal. Make sure you like this. Yeah, 310 in tonight. Thank you for joining us. Scott, in that regard, in terms of you getting everybody in order, I appreciate it. I haven't spoken to you about this yet, but if you want to become a moderator for the chat, then we can have a chat about that, pal. And if anybody wants to be a moderator for the chat, that's basically all that is making sure that no Forest fans infiltrate the chat. Basically, no, we don't get any sort of just people bickering, and we just get rid of the rubbish, really. People just in the chat to spammers. Forest could face a points deduction for FFP. Inject it. Yeah, can you imagine? Can you imagine? I saw a report earlier today that I think they're sailing close to the wind of FFP, but they're not quite there, unfortunately, although that would be amazing. Good, says Gaza. Can't wait to see how Chelsea get out of it next spring. Doesn't look like our transfers have got off to a good start. Oh, you see that? I don't mind it. I don't mind it. It's the 2nd of January. Give us a chance. Hi, Jimmy. Don't mind the idea of Brereton Diaz on loan. However, we prefer to sign a goal scorer on a permanent. Do you see this happening? No, I don't, if I'm honest. Goal scorers are an absolute premium, understandably so. And we're not going to be throwing a load of money about. I think if we sell some players, say somebody comes in and buys a Nell for 20 million, then it's easier to get a cheap centre half permanently and then use the rest of that pot for a really strong loan. So we could look at something like that, but I don't think we'll be signing, because I think the plan will be, if we get relegated, then we will look for a Cameron Archer-esque striker on loan in the Championship. I think so anyway. So are linked with Schmeichel, Johansson, Brereton Diaz. So we are linked with Schmeichel, Johansson, Brereton Diaz, and Mullins. Whether correct or not, these sound like Chris's type of player. Good experienced pros, don't have an issue with any. Mullins? Do you mean Paul Mullin at Wrexham? No, thank you. No. But the rest, yeah. I'm more Johansson than Schmeichel, but people have different opinions on that. Hey up, pal. Thanks for joining us. Hiya, mate. Nice of you to call in. Forest on the brink serves them right, says Bry. Everton not out of the woods either. Absolutely right, mate. Traore signing for Nantes on loan to buy. Yeah, that's right, Danny boy. We're not linked with Paul Mullins, surely. I know. Evening, pal. I'll be famous soon. No, I don't think so, pal. I don't think so. Exciting times indeed, Jeff. Exciting times, mate. Hey, Kev. Need to get rid of Thomas, Fleck, Koulibaly, plus Traore. Can you name 4 to replace them? Oh, Kev, put me on the spot, mate. I agree with those outs, by the way. And I'm going to phone it in, unfortunately, and say I can't spoil my video that's coming up, can I? That'd just be poor. Shout out as well to Dave Blademan, who we're just rudely looking for on my list, because he's just signed up to become a Patreon member. So thank you, Dave Blademan, for your support. Very much appreciated, pal. I hope you enjoy the extra perks of content that you'll get. Great time to sign up, by the way, because obviously it's manic in January, isn't it? We're all in a good mood, Blades. Come on then, Jimbo. 18 games left. Are we staying up if this window goes well? You know I like to be optimistic. You know I do. I think it's going to be a real tough ask. A really, really tough ask. But would I want anybody else leading us? And now that it looks like the board and the manager are on the same page, I think the future certainly looks bright. I think in 18 months' time, we will be a Premier League club. Whether we have a little spell in the Championship between times, we'll have to wait and see. If you were asking me to place a bet on it now, mate, I don't think we stay up. But I would love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong. And if the window goes well, it can change everything. Thomas sent back to Leicester tomorrow to open up home loan slot. Is that something you've heard, Danny, or is that something you want? I've heard it's something we're certainly considering. Word is he's getting Santos from Chelsea on loan as he's not featured at Forest. Oh, is he the left centre midfielder? Wow. Well, I've not heard that name mentioned to us, but we'll see. We'll see that. Don't mind that at all. Didn't know a man of your caliber worked. We're not there yet, pal. Bloody hell. If only. 3,500 subs we're at, I think, at the minute. I think I just need another 100,000 and we'll be just about there. Evening, Jimmy. You're going to have to get yourself a yellow tie at this rate with all the rumours, you know. Don't compare me to Jim White. I'm not a fan. Although I did really enjoy the Sky Sports News things. Hi, Jimmy. Yes, famous now. Wife wants a signed photo of you, please, to replace Harris. That'd be ridiculous. You're embarrassing me. Good evening to Mrs. Pash. Brendan Diaz. I'd like if we can get a loan to Perm. We won't get to Perm, mate. Victor is a must, and let Wes go. Let Wes go. That's an interesting. And again, I'm going to be spoiling my video here, but I will be offering Wes a contract if he's willing to stay as a number 2. I just don't think he is. Having said that, whether we stay up or go down, is Wes a leading championship goalkeeper? I would argue not. I think in our promotion season under Eki, it was average in the championship. It wasn't. I know he has moments like highlight moments where he makes because I think he's a great shot stopper. But there's so much more to a goalkeeper's game than that. His distribution, I think, is appalling. I think his positioning and his decision making is sometimes really suspect. I think he struggles to get higher than mid-table championship for a permanent gig. So if he spots that himself, then he may well be happy being a number 2, pushing to be number 1. And he would come in from time to time and would be a lot more confident than we are now with our sub-keeper, Adam Davis. So that it'll all depend on whether Wes is willing to stay. But if he doesn't sign a contract in the next couple of weeks, then I'm sure we'll be trying to get him out because there'll still be some value in him. Heard anything about Schmeichel? No, I haven't, pal. No, I haven't. It's not a name that's been mentioned to me. I know it's been circulated a lot online, but I've not heard it. Brendan Diaz, obviously incoming. Where do you see him playing? On the left as part of a front 3? Yeah, I do. I do, mate. That's where I see him. Firmino said no to Blades. Thank God them pearly white teeth scares me more than the wife. I don't think that were ever a goer. I don't think many people did they, to be honest. Jimmy's in charge. He's breaking the bank for Illy. Illyman's another one that I gave. You can't say I didn't give Prince Abdullah every opportunity to shoot that rumour down. Because I did, but he didn't. So that has set tongues wagging. And while I don't think that will happen, I just don't. I might be wrong. I hope I am, because can you imagine? That would be the signing of the window for us. But I think what that's also done is sort of set our expectations, not just in the fan base, but in the market in terms of a Ben Brereton Diaz. Sheffield United aren't just going to roll over and go. We are going to target very good players. And if they don't come, they don't come. But that's what we want. Firmino is a step too far. I can't remember what the one was that we were linked with that were absolutely ridiculous. But we are looking at quality loan players here. So we're not giving up. We are giving survival a go, which I think is really positive. He's not scored in Spain, says Billy. Yeah, that's true. But it's only 2 starts, I think. And that it's on in itself can be a worrying start, can't it? David Webster, Mr. Positive. Why do you ask Jimmy's questions as though he's an expert on football? Just curious. Don't know. Who are you asking there, David? Everybody? I'm not an expert. I've never claimed to be an expert. I do, fortunately, due to taking the plunge and putting a YouTube channel out there, I've made a few connections and I always come on and just try and be honest with everybody. So I'll tell you if I know something. I'll tell you if I don't. I'll tell you if I'm not allowed to say something. And I think that's been a lot of the reason behind our growth, really, is that we just have honest conversations with each other. So it's not, I never would claim to know everything. But if I do know something, I'm happy to come on and tell people, particularly if I'm, it's not going to get me in bother. True, Billy only played 13 games with 2 starts. Oh, yeah, sorry, that's the BBD. Ian, thank you, pal. Very kind, very, very kind super chat. Happy New Year, Jimmy. Let's get you in the garage in 2020. I'll be in there, mate. I'll be in there. That's the goal. Thank you, pal. That very much helps towards. So happy New Year to you too, and all the best to you and your family. Burton Diaz hasn't scored this season, so much like Schmeichel, it does feel like a name signing rather than a quality signing. Ooh, Billy, you can't be souring on him already. He's better than what we've got into. He's better quality. He's better. I think he brings a bit of a presence with him. He's a big, strong player. He's quick. He gives us more presence in the box. I think he's like a more mobile Ollie McBurney. He's like an Ollie McBurney that can run. And that sliding at McBurney, it's just he's never fit at the minute. So that's the way I see it anyway. Waste of 4 million, if you ask me. Which is the waste of 4 million, pal? Is that Benny? And at which I can understand that point if that's the case. I expect more than just Traore to go out on loan. I agree. Any wheelings and dealings always been done that. And wheeling and dealing has always been the way. It has, Dean. You're right, pal. One of our new ramblers. So thank you for your support. It has always been the way. I think, and it's always been where Wilder's excelled for us, in my opinion. I think when we opened the checkbook, it caused everybody a few problems. And I'm sure Prince Abdullah still has a few nightmares about some of those. But yeah, it's. I think Wilder thrives really on getting a great deal over the line. That's one of the players Chris doesn't fancy. Clearly got to be. Maybe so. Maybe so. I'd heard differently. I'd heard he wanted to test him in the championship. I don't know if I've already said that on this stream, actually. But yeah, I was surprised to see the option to buy included. But interesting. Hyder, thank you, pal. Very much appreciated for your super chat. Messy New Year. Still need to see Prince Part 2. We'll get around to it. No problem, mate. No rush. No rush at all. Hope you enjoy it. Don't give me that, Jimmy. Every time you mention a player, we go and get him. Just like your son, Cameron. And excuse me. Well, at least we know Prince Abdullah watches, don't we? Because he confirmed. I knew that anyway, and I've sort of dropped that in before. And I didn't believe him at first, so he sent me a video of him watching it, which is ridiculous, you know. And the fact that the subscribe button was pressed. So my point is, we know that Prince Abdullah is watching what we put out here. And that includes what you guys are saying as well, because he likes to get an idea of what the fan base is thinking. So, yes, I absolutely spammed Cameron Archer videos, and he was joking on the interview saying that he was sick and tired of me going on about him. So now everybody's saying, message him about Victor Hansen, Victor Hansen, Victor Hansen, Victor Hansen. So it's not every time I mention it, but I get what you're saying, Mickey. That's fair, mate. That's fair. To be fair, Benny was way too lightweight for English football. Nice kid. Good luck to him. Fair point, Man Mountain. Very fair point. But I come back to you with Iliman and Die. And I would say that in the year where we lost in the playoffs, when Illy was breaking into the first team, I would have said he was a bit too slight. Nowhere near as slight as Benny. So it's a poor argument in one respect. But once he bulked up in the summer and became the main man when Gibbs White went back, he thrived. And I'm not saying Benny would have anywhere near the same impact. But if Benny had come through our youth system, then I think we'd all be wanting to give him much more of a chance, won't we? So, like you said, though, nice kid and good luck to him. And knowing Sheffield United as we do, one thing I think we do well is selling players, not necessarily for the right price, but in terms of the structure of the sale. So when we've sold Illiman, we've got a clever deal in terms of a buyback. And that's not necessarily so that we get him back. It's so that we know the exact figure so that we can then get our sell-on clause when he goes. We always put a sell-on clause in. So if Benny goes on to be a very good player in France and sells for 20 million, you can bet that we've got 20% on the profit of the transfer. I'll be amazed if we haven't got at least 20% on that. Ian expects Prince Abdullah to spend some money this week. He'll be in a good mood after the 49ers won on Sunday. Maybe so. I couldn't tell you. I don't know on that, but there you go. Casper may not be the player he was, but he's a massive upgrade over Wes, unless he's somehow dropped 10 levels in the past 12 months. And that's the thing. And that were a big discussion in our Ramblers chat today, which has been absolutely on fire today. just because everybody's so excited at the transfer movement. So trying to keep up with it is a job in itself. But some are pro Casper, some are pro Johansson. The ultimate vibe is that Wes needs to be replaced, in our opinion. But a big sort of reasoning for Casper is, yes, like Luke said here, it might not be the Kasper Schmeichel that won the Premier League with Leicester, but he's still going to be better than Wes. And as long as it's an upgrade, why are we getting too drawn down in it? Brereton Diaz only 24 as well. If the loan goes well, he'd sign. Very optimistic, pal. Good signing for me. 24 and 17 goals for Blackburn. Physical presence as well. Completely agree. Jimmy the Diaz and Benny Loan are on Sky Sports News. Oh, very good. Thing on Benny is at least we'll recoup our investment if he's bought by Nantes. So from that point of view, breaking even isn't bad. But why gamble on foreign investments if you don't then give them a chance? I have to ask the person that brought him in. There's a reason why Leicester only offered Schmeichel a one-year deal. He was poor at defending the 6-yard box. He's no longer the keeper he was. That's my concern, Michael. When they start to decline, how quickly does that rot set in terms of, we see great players go down the divisions rapidly, don't we, once they start to get to a certain age. Rotherham keeper or Schmeichel is needed this window, says Hyder. Disagree with Paul. If Brereton Diaz goes well, Villarreal will have him back in the first available flight come May. Absolutely they will. They're wanting to have their investment reignite his form, aren't they, and have their asset become more valuable. Must be the only one who does not see the reason to buy the Rotherham lad. Don't know why. It's fair enough, mate. It's all about opinions. Who would you have instead then, Matt? Who would you have instead of Johansson? I prefer Mike Cooper at Plymouth, like I say, but I think he'd be cheaper, if I'm honest. But he's proven to be a little bit injury prone, unfortunately. We need an experienced keeper, says Andrew. So that's the contrasting opinion as well. So we'll maybe go for a Schmeichel instead of a more sort of longer term option at the moment. Send Thomas back and maybe try to compete for a Mad from Man United. I'd love that signing. I think that would be a really smart move for us. Top priority, Victor from Rotherham. How are you doing, mate? I'm good, thank you, Harry. Hope you're well as well, pal. Hearing Casper and Diaz will be announced soon, says L-Dog. Well, I've not heard anything on Casper, so I'm not sure where you've got that from, but let us know because it's news to me, that one. Whoever we go for will be an upgrade on Wes, says Andrew. What about Ndiaye? Is he on his way back? I don't think so. I know we had, or I'm hearing that we had tentative discussions about it, but I don't think that'll come off. I'll be amazed. I'll be shocked, to be honest. I just don't think they'd give up such an asset. They'd be mad. So the fact that, so when Scott pointed me towards the French article that had picked up on what Prince Abdullah had said in the Ramble, you go to their French article or their French tweet, and underneath the vitriol and abuse that Illiman's receiving, the fraud, get him gone, and all this sort of stuff. What? How can they not see? Listen, I know he wasn't the finished article when he left us, but I think we were all on the same page that his ceiling is probably the biggest ceiling that's ever come through Bramall Lane. So they have got a real gem there, and they got him for a steal because he went last year of his contract. So if they don't appreciate him and he recognises that, then the door will always be open at Bramall Lane. I would just be amazed if they'd let an asset that strong go, because chances are we probably get round the table and talk to him, and then he has an amazing AFCON and we don't see him again. So they'll come away, won't they? But I can't see it. I just can't. I'd love to be wrong. Oh, you meant Hayden in the chat instead of... So Isaac Hayden, not Hayden Mullins, the old West Ham centre-half. No problem, Lee. Get that, mate. Get a keeper like Casper on loan and then review as possible number 2. And buy Victor now and then offload Wes and Davis. We need new players now at this moment in time. If we got Illiman on loan, it'll probably be later on in the window, thinking logically that Marseille won't want to make a decision too early. He's at AFCON, isn't he? So he's going to be gone for the majority of the window, I think. really on the fence regards Brereton Diaz. I've never rated him, to be honest, as Dean. Need a longer-term solution on the keeper front. Short-term is a waste, in my opinion. And I tend to fall on that side of things, pal. I thought Ahmad was a right-back. We need another left-back. Larouci and Thomas and Lowe ain't enough. All our eggs are in the R&D basket. So Ahmad Diallo is... You're probably getting him confused, pal, but it's the lad who was on loan at Sunderland last year. The left winger, sometimes plays on the right. He's a forward, basically. Can play 10. Very tricky, very highly rated. Did really well on loan at Sunderland. Then got a bad injury just before he was going to make a move in the summer. I think he'd be a really good prospect for us. He's back now, but he's started to come on in a couple of Man U games. So if he makes an impression there, then it's going to be the Palestri deal all over again, isn't it? Star printed 24 names in an article, 20 pies in 20 skies. Speculation from agents, loads of these. Yeah, there will be, mate. DC saying Lafont, the 6'5", I learnt today in the Ramble chat, nonce keeper, may be part of the Traore deal. We don't know this, do we, Dave? But it's speculation at this point that the huge keeper from Nantes might be part of the reason that we've agreed to the Traore deal. But I think that's, again, very speculative. Lafont would be decent, but definitely not happening. Chirac says, BBD is terrible. Well finished. Finished at 24. Thought we needed some Prem standard players. Where's those names at? You got to pay for Premier League proven players, aren't you, Chirac? And you know, and I know, and we all know, we haven't got the cash for that. Sorry, didn't realise. Fast buy. Who would be your ideal signings? My ideal signings. I'm not going to spoil my videos that are coming up because otherwise there'll be no reason for people to watch, but they'll be out very soon. And I think rather than ideal, I'm trying to go for more realistic. But I've heard Morgan Whittaker mentioned more than once today, and I think he's an absolute star. Currently at Plymouth, linked with Luton. I think we'd be daft to let that one slip by, but whether we'd do it, I'm not sure. More looking at how well Ahmad did for Sunderland. Could be a gamble that could give us the spark we need. Absolutely right. Bit off topic, but apparently Forest are at risk of having FFP sanctions like Everton. Love it. Bring it on. Bring it on. Any truth in McBurney to Rangers on a free? That one I haven't heard recently, but it's been rumbling on for a long, long time. McBurney can sign for Rangers now, which will see him stay at United till the end of the season, but he'll join Rangers on a free at the end of the season. And for those that aren't aware, McBurney is a massive Rangers fan. Don't know how the connections come about, but whether it's his family or I'm not sure, but it wouldn't surprise me to see that happen. I know we've got a contract in front of him, and it's up to him whether he signs. We'll see where that goes. I think he's going to have to make a decision, well, in the next couple of weeks, really, because otherwise we need to move on, don't we, really? Just read on Google they want a goalkeeper to give Wes a rest. I think he needs to replace him altogether. It's a rest till the end of the season when we can get rid. Look, from what I understand, we've offered Wes a contract as well, but he knows that we're looking for a goalkeeper. Of course he does. So it's up to him whether he's willing to accept being a backup, whether that's in the Premier League or in the Championship. Hey, Pandy, wouldn't mind Diaz. We need another midfielder for me as well. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, Forest at risk for spending too much before and after promotion. I think it's needed to be fair as the only way to give promotion teams a fair chance. Look, Nottingham Forest have brought in 250 players. They've spent 500 million quid. They haven't. That's me speculating and being ridiculous. But I am, colour me shocked not that they are under investigation, because they are. I have repeatedly said, and will continue to bang the drum, they are the worst run club in the league by a country mile. If it ain't working, buy a new one. That's the solution, isn't it? Johansson, Brereton Diaz, a centre-back, and Illiman back on loan. Oh, love it to that. We have a goal scorer in Archer. Yes, we do. Feed the Arch, and he will shoot the arrow. Need 8-9 wins out of 19 games. 3 or 4 draws on top. It'd have to be a miracle or miracles. I just think we might regret not looking to next season now when we get there. Maybe so. But the last thing you want to do is get to within a couple of points and think, well, maybe if we'd have signed off that Brereton Diaz goal, then he'd have finished that chance that McBurney put off at bar to save us. Do you know what I mean? It's always what if, and at least now we're never going to say what if. And if it costs us another 5-6 million quid because of the loan fees that we've lost in the summer, then I think the majority of the fan base would accept it, to rather than go down respectfully, to go down fighting with players that might not make up your squad next year. I think it's admirable to a degree. Whether I agree with it tactically or not, my heart says brilliant, my head says what you're doing. It's a little bit of that in it, I suppose. Up the Blades, Jimmy lad, absolutely, Stephen. I'll be mad and keep all rubbish out. Imagine if we had a few long-term signings in January at half season and a pre-season with Wilder, we'd be out of the blocks so quick. This is where I think we're going to have such a huge turnover in the summer. We have to be ready. We can't just be blending a lot of strangers together. I know we'll still have a little bit of a core, but what you want is signings bedded in, don't you? I'd rather they were getting used to the surroundings now. Andrew totally agrees. If we sell a Nell, then I definitely wouldn't mind Luke Woofenden from Ipswich. Good player. Good player. I like him. Danny Ings. Imagine this. Ilya's a 10. Front three of Diallo, Ings and Diaz. Hang on. I like Danny Ings. Don't get me wrong. But if you're having that front three, it needs to be a front four. You're missing my boy. Cameron Archer will score goals if we serve him right in this league. And listen, we're not going to sign Diallo and Ings, are we? Because they both have to be loans. And we haven't got the loan spots. Because with that, you must be sending McAtee back. Too risky with his injury record. Not sure whose injury record we're talking about there. You're going to have to look at how expensive Brereton Diaz was 2 seasons ago in the January window. I think it was 25 million Blackburn rejected. No value in buying a striker in Jan. Any suggestions for centre-back? I personally think Egan was running in treacle before the injury. I've got loads, mate, loads. And it'll be in that video, don't you worry. Archer's our goal scorer if we can give him the chances. Absolutely right. Is there a more improved player than Vinny? Let's make Robbo skipper. I'd make George skipper, personally. I don't mind Robbo as skipper, but I don't think he'll be in the team long term, if I'm honest. In terms of Vinny, real big improvement. I now think he will be sought after. Me and Billy, I think, are on the same page with this. I think if Polinia leaves Fulham, he were linked with Bayern, weren't he? Or very close to a deal. It was like the Dan James to Man U, I think, or whatever the deal was that fell through last minute. He was pretty much signed for Bayern, and then it all fell through. Well, if Bayern come back in for João Polinia at Fulham, I think Fulham will be straight on blower for Vinny Souza, and we'll make a quick buck on him. I wouldn't want to lose him, but I don't think he'll play in Championship for us, if I'm honest. I'd be very surprised. Davey Boy says, would like us to go for Diallo if we send Thomas back, or Chukwuemeka, as he seems to be heading back into training with Chelsea. But I think he might get a game at Chelsea, you know. I might be wrong, but he was getting inside, weren't he, at one stage? Yeah, Diallo would be a great signing. Or Brooks, I've seen us mentioned with Brooks as well in a couple of reports. 5K by Pancake Day. Look, we're not setting targets. We set ourselves up to fail when we do that. But if you want to try and get us up to 5K by Pancake Day, then I'm all for it. Obviously, we want to continue growing, and I thank everybody for their support. I've switched tactic a little bit and just focused on putting out videos. Well, it would never any different, to be honest, but I don't want to be pushing for a certain number, but obviously to grow is the ultimate aim. So if you're not already subscribed, it would be very much appreciated if you would hit that button. It costs you absolutely nothing to subscribe. Evening, Jim. What's your wife cooking? Oh, good. No, she's out, mate. She's out, which is why I've got the reign of the kitchen with no grief. Oh, she's not cooking Illiman. West can be number 1 at Rotherham as a make-weight in the Janssen deal. Love that. Love that. I don't think he'd go to Rotherham personally. I think he's a little bit... He'll have an eye on... There'll be a League One club, but I think Adam Davis might be a make-weight. What's the ETA for an Egan return? Do we need a centre-back as cover? I heard February. for Egan initially, but I haven't had an update in about a month on that. I think we do need another centre-back. Not only, I think Anel and Robinson's been doing a decent job. I think Anel can cover if we get cover at right centre-half. I definitely think we need a new centre-back. There's definitely work to do. Isn't there? 28th of Jan for Egan. Not 100% sure. Right, okay. Ramble on a European tour. Getting mentions in French media. What happened to the champ manager vids? We've got a few ideas, both for the Ramble, but also for the Jimmy Ramble channel, which is our second channel that we've started. Some of you might not be aware, but we're going to start doing like different content on there. So Football Manager will come back when I've got time, mate. I think it's going to be very busy, Luke, to get some more Football Manager content on there. But I will try and upload as and when I play, but I haven't played for ages and ages. But I'm going to try and bring maybe a couple of people on board on the Jimmy Ramble channel. And if any of that works, if any of that sort of proves to be a successful formula, then we'll move it to the main Ramble. No more sort of mindlessly experimenting on the blade. I'm not saying we won't continue to try new stuff and do different bits, because we will. But we've now got a bit of a development channel, if you like, where we're trying new bits. So if you want to see a little bit more of a raw presentation and, you know, different stuff that you're not really used to, then Jimmy Ramble YouTube channel is something that we're going a little bit broader on and seeing what works. What's your view on keeping Egan? Absolutely right. Another McBurney and Norwood out of contract in the summer. I think if we're going to go down, Norwood is a good option. It's a good squad player at championship level, even though he's another year older. I would say the same for McBurney as well, to be honest, but it'll depend on what he's wanting in wages. I think we need to, particularly with McBurney, I think he holds transfer value. Some will not believe that, but it's true. So I think to keep the asset, I think it's important we get all three of them a new deal, if I'm honest. Particularly if we stay up, I don't think Norwood stays, and I wouldn't be upset with McBurney leaving either. I still haven't written Egan off by any means yet. Do you think Yasser is one of the loans we're trying to get out of? I think he could well be. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we sent him back. But I would try and sell Max Lowe, because I don't think there's much in it between Thomas, Lowe and Larouci. I think Reece Norrington-Davies is our left back, left wing back. And I would try and sell Max Lowe rather than sell him in the summer when he's got less time in his contract, because I think we've got an option on him. Try and sell Max, keep Larouci as the backup, and hopefully don't have to play him. That's the way I'd go with it personally. But it wouldn't surprise me if we sent Larouci back and then kept Max Lowe as a backup. It's more and more likely each week that there's two Sheffield derbies next season. I hate that. That Bernard that can run sounds like Ollie Burke. So he was shot stopper. Wouldn't feel comfortable having Wes on the bench either. Also, is Davis going? I think he could be. I'd be surprised if he didn't, put it that way. Thoughts on Sousa's adaptation to the Prem? What's his best position with us? I think he's been great under Wilder. I think now he's just that destroyer that we talked about. He sits in front of the defence, breaks up the play, gives it easy. That's all he needs to do. All he needs to do, and I think he does it really well. Top player, Vinny. Absolutely right. I'll go for O'Hare from Coventry. Reckon 45 million may get him and can Scott. I don't think it would. Cov don't need the money. We give him a lot of money for Hamer. They got a lot of money for Gyökeres. I know they spent some money as well to replace those players, or try to. But I don't think they're add up anymore because of those deals. Contract runs out at the end of the season. Does it? I don't think it does. I don't know if I've done my homework on that one yet, but it's definitely coming up for this video. So if we can get O'Hare for cheap, it's a no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer. Everyone say hi to the prince. Let's not forget that Wilder signed Wes as a third choice keeper. I don't think Wes forgets that either. I don't think he forgets. Saw a report Spurs are after Gibbs White today. Yeah, I saw that too. Might be a non-starter this window, but could be something they're visiting this summer. Thing is with Casper, Look at Ben Foster, who's an aging keeper, went from Premier level to not being able to save a shot at Wrexham and hanging his boots up. Shows how quickly things can. I agree. Once the decline sets in, it's a sharp drop in it for some people. Brenton Diaz is on the bench for Villarreal now. Interesting. Like the look of Patterson at Sunderland. I'm just ruining my video by being on here, aren't I? Jimmy, any news on the move for Sam Curtis? Yeah, almost done from what I understand. Almost done. And a very good deal by all accounts. I don't know an awful lot about Sam Curtis, which I'm sure a lot of us are in a similar boat. I'm trying to get someone, either a St. Pat's fan or somebody who follows League of Ireland, onto the channel just to give us a bit of a rundown. Really, I can cut it up and make you look good if that's anybody watching, or if you know anybody that would be interested in giving us a bit of information on Sam Curtis. I'd be interested to speak to him. Sheffield United news now is where all the latest Sheffield United transfer news is, Jimmy. Absolutely right. It sure is. I used to use that all the time, news now. You ever thought Maka would come back, so you never know about Illy? Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think I probably did say that about Maka. I don't remember it, but I'm not disputing it. Tough one, like you said, with good goal scorers. Keepers are hard to find these days. Brice Samba. Brice Samba. Not that he's a bad keeper, but wow. Saw that with the French, he's slagging Illiman. Couldn't believe it. They've soon changed the tune. Worse than some of our lot. I know. A foreign loan, but doesn't need months to settle in like most from abroad. Great point, Hugh. Great point. Am I the only one who wouldn't see losing McBurney as catastrophic? Wouldn't see losing McBurney as... No, I don't think you are, mate. I don't think it's catastrophic. Imminent, I believe. Hopefully. Look, we don't want to jinx these things, do we? But I've heard it's very likely. But if Ndiaye isn't coming, why didn't you shut that question down when you asked? Because I think it's still something, until it's a definite no, why would you write it off completely if it's something that we're looking at? It's just my opinion, Ricky, that I don't think it'll happen. Prince thinks we can stay up. Chris Wilder thinks we can stay up. Why won't they think we can sign Illiman and Ndiaye back? They might think we can get on a perm if all goes well, if we stay up. You know, it's stranger things have happened. Diaz, Archer, and Ndiaye, serviced by Maka Hamer. Wow. It's not going to happen. So let's not think about it. But nice to see so many watching live. Great channel, Up the Mighty Blades. Thank you, pal. It is nice to see so many watching. We've had loads of new followers, subscribers, sorry. We've had loads of new Ramblers, which is great to see. So thank you to everybody. We've had loads, we've had an upturn in Patreon subscribers, which really helps the channel. So thank you to everybody for your support. I knew the Prince interview would see more eyes on the channel, but if you don't like what you see, then you're not going to subscribe, are you? So it's nice to see that people are joining, and I appreciate it. Illiman's coming back and Gibbs White from Forest Fire Sale. If only. Happy New Year, Mr. V. All the best to you and your wife and the girls in 2024, and to you and your family, pal. Up the Blades. Come on, you Blades. Need to let Brewster out as he's done nothing and made a glass. I would like to see Brewster get half a season in Championship. Whether we'll do that, I'm not sure, but surely that opens the door to another striker coming in to complement Asula McBurney Archer. Archer's the man, but we need to feed him like a Christmas turkey. Love the Ramble. There's loads of views in FM24. There is, pal, I'm sure there is, but Blades are my first love, aren't they? Look, I do like playing Football Manager, but it's just getting the time, isn't it? Getting the time. Diaz in the Villarreal squad tonight. Hopefully he doesn't come on and get injured. That'd just be Blades' luck, wouldn't it? The Blades away. No point in signing Illiman. Might only play a few games because of the African Cup and how successful Senegal are. Same with Liverpool, lad. Chris, but I mean, I understand what you're saying, pal. And if you're talking purely financially, you might be right. But if we get Illiman just for 10 games, surely that's worth it. Surely. I can confirm O'Hare is out of contract in the summer. Well, thank you, Scott Sports News. Appreciate that. You know, I might fact check it, but thank you for your update. Don't understand potentially selling Traore. Could light up the Championship, but trust in Wilder. Absolutely, JB. We do. We do indeed. Wilder as Del Boy should have put Nil as granddad. It were hard enough to make that edit look half decent. I'm not convinced I managed that. Dear me, is there a bonfire going on? Oh, wow, what is that? Oh no, I'll tell you what that is. She's got a little like a spotlight thing on the kitchen side that comes out. So that's what this is here. That's what you're on about. Worrell being integrated into the first squad, which is a pity because with his leadership skills could have been an acute signing for this season. I agree. I'd have liked Joe Worrell. And if he's getting back in now at Forest, it is a bit of a shame. But there's plenty more centre halves out there, mate. Ask the Prince if PIF wants to swap Newcastle for us. It's much nicer in God's City. I asked him if His Excellency Turkey Al Sheikh fancied it, but didn't really answer me, to be honest. Happy New Year, Jimmy, watching from Australia. Happy New Year, pal. This is the best channel on YouTube. Well, that is high praise indeed. Thank you. I'm sure a lot will disagree, but appreciate the sentiment. Cheers, Jimmy. Happy New Year. Keep the vids coming. Prefer this than EastEnders, just. Oh, dearie me. Right. I'm going to call it there. So thank you, everybody. We've gone an hour. That's plenty. You don't need to hear any more from me tonight, dear. I'm sure you'll hear absolutely loads from me during the window because it's stuff I love to talk about. Whenever I get any info, I'll try and jump on and talk to you about it. If I say too much, then people will stop giving me info, so I have to be careful. But it's exciting, isn't it? Wilder is making moves, and you'll love to see it. Yeah, we'll be here. We'll be here an awful lot, as you know. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blades.
Ramble on! Gustavo Homer into the top corner. John Egan! What a goal from George Bulldog!